Everyone tells you to avoid dangerous men. They're wrong. Because the most dangerous thing isn't falling for a man who could destroy you. It's spending your whole life so afraid of being hurt that you forget what it feels like to be alive. I learned this when a tattooed billionaire with alleged mob connections cornered me in my empty classroom and told me he'd been watching me for weeks. I should have run. Instead, I let him show me that sometimes the only way to survive winter is to let it burn. Here's what nobody tells you about falling for a man like Vincent Kang. But before that classroom confrontation, you need to understand what I was running from, because the past has a way of catching up, even in towns designed for disappearing. Isla Munro dreamed in shades of crimson, and every dream was a nightmare. For 14 months, the same terror. Faceless children with hollow, accusing eyes, a woman with a porcelain mask circling her like a predator. You think you deserve to stand here? After what you did? She jolted awake at 5:47 a.m. in her frozen apartment in Ashford Grove, a dying coal mining town where people came to be forgotten. Her reflection was unrecognizable. Dull eyes, severe bun, gray sweater. Everything colorless. Everything designed to disappear. When did I become a ghost in my own life? 2 years ago, she'd been different. The teacher who organized winter carnivals, brought her guitar to assemblies, made everyone laugh. Then came Pittsburgh. The false accusation. The investigation that cleared her but destroyed her anyway. The threats. The vandalism. The fear that hunted her until she fled here, to this frozen nowhere. She'd succeeded in disappearing, even from herself. What she didn't know? Someone had been watching her disappear, and he was about to make sure she never hid again. Riverside Academy smelled like old textbooks and broken dreams. Isla kept her head down entering the teacher's lounge, but, well, if it isn't the Ice Queen herself, Marcia Brennan. Too much perfume, too little mercy. Has anyone seen Isla Munro smile in the past year? She used to be fun, remember? Now she's like a walking funeral. Mrs. Chen tried intervening, but Isla was already gone, coffee cup trembling, tears threatening. She locked herself in her 4th grade classroom, pressing her forehead against cold glass. Just survive, that's all you have to do. The morning dragged. Mechanical teaching, monotone voice, restless students sensing her emotional absence, all except one, Ezra Park. The brilliant Korean-American boy in the 3rd row who watched her with unusual intensity. Like he could see the fractures beneath her frozen exterior. His essays were college level. His questions pierced deeper than lesson plans allowed. Ms. Munro, when you teach us about courage, do you think it's the absence of fear, or acting despite fear? Acting despite fear, Isla heard herself say. Courage is moving forward anyway. Hypocrite. When was the last time you showed courage? Here's where everything changes. Because at 2:45 p.m. the temperature dropped. Not the room, but something else. Something that made every teacher's head turn toward the auditorium doors. The doors didn't just open. They exploded open, with barely contained violence. In the doorway, a man carved from darker elements than ordinary humans. 6'3", disciplined strength. Black hair styled back revealing sharp angles and fierce beauty. Korean features but harder, more dangerous. A scar through his left eyebrow. Impeccable charcoal suit that couldn't hide the tattoos crawling up his neck like shadowy vines. But his eyes, God, his eyes. They swept the auditorium with cold calculation, dismissing 40 teachers as irrelevant until they found Isla and stopped. Those dark eyes locked onto hers with such intensity that breathing became impossible. Recognition flickered. Impossible. She'd never seen this man before. Principal Walsh's voice cracked with terror. Mr. Kang, this is unexpected. Where is Principal Walsh? The man's voice was deep, controlled, but underneath ran barely leashed fury. I'm Principal Walsh. No. Mr. Kang moved forward with predatory grace. You're the man who revoked my nephew's Academic Achievement Award. Silence fell like a guillotine blade. Your nephew? You mean Ezra Park? But the board decided there were questions. Questions. His voice dropped to something lethal. Questions about whether a child whose parents died when he was 6 deserves recognition for his brilliance. Questions about whether an orphan is worthy of excellence. Isla's heart hammered. Ezra is his nephew. Walsh backed up, hands raised. Mr. Kang, please. This is a school. We can discuss this in my office. We'll discuss it here. Mr. Kang stopped 5 feet away, somehow more threatening than if he'd closed the distance. You told my nephew that students from complicated family situations set a poor example. Do I have that correct? Those weren't my exact words. They were close enough. His jaw tightened. Let me be clear. Ezra Park is under my protection. He is the smartest, most disciplined, most honorable student in this failing institution, and you will restore his award, publicly, with a written apology, by the end of this week. Or what? Bad move, Walsh. Mr. Kang smiled, and it was terrifying. Or I will ensure every parent in this district knows Riverside Academy discriminates against orphaned children. I will ensure every donor knows their money supports institutional bigotry. I will personally fund a competing charter school that will drain this building of every quality teacher and student within a year. Pause. And Principal Walsh? I keep my promises. Every single one. But wait. Here's what made 40 teachers forget to breathe. Mr. Kang turned, his gaze sweeping the frozen audience once more. Again, his eyes found Isla's. This time, they lingered. Something in his expression softened infinitesimally, a crack in the armor. Ms. Monroe. He said her name like he'd known it forever. Thank you for being one of the few teachers who sees my nephew's worth. Isla couldn't speak, couldn't move. How did he know her name? How did he know she'd advocated for Ezra's award? Then he was gone, leaving auditorium doors swinging and 40 teachers releasing held breaths. Jesus Christ, Marcia whispered. That was Vincent Kang. The Vincent Kang? The man who runs half the commercial real estate in the state? The one they say has connections to... Don't. Mrs. Chen cut him off sharply. Don't finish that sentence. But Isla barely heard them. Her mind replayed the moment Vincent Kang's eyes met hers, the way recognition had flared, the way her frozen heart had suddenly, impossibly, felt something. Something dangerous. Something alive. What Isla didn't know yet? Vincent Kang had been watching her for weeks, and what he'd seen had awakened something no amount of control could suppress. Tomorrow, their worlds would collide, and here's where it gets crazy. Isla didn't sleep that night. 3 a.m., laptop open, trembling fingers typing his name. The results flooded her screen. Vincent Kang, 34, CEO of Kang Industries, commercial real estate empire, philanthropist. But beneath corporate headlines lurked darker whispers. Controversial business tactics, allegations never proven, connections to organized networks, feared throughout the business community. Photos. God, the photos. Vincent at charity galas in tailored tuxedos. Vincent breaking ground on developments. Vincent's cold, beautiful face staring down cameras like he owned the world, which apparently he did. One article from 5 years ago. His younger sister's death in a car accident. How he'd immediately assumed guardianship of 6-year-old Ezra. Kang, never married and known for his ruthless business approach. Surprised observers by dedicating himself to raising his nephew with fierce protectiveness. Isla closed the laptop, hands shaking. Why did he look at me like that? The next morning, the atmosphere at Riverside Academy had shifted. Teachers huddled in whispered clusters. Marcia held court. Herdy bought an entire newspaper just to fire the journalist who crossed him. Contractors literally flee if Kang Industries underbids their projects. But did you see him? Terrifying, yes, but also, Marcia's eyes landed on Isla. The Ice Queen returns. Tell us, Mr. Kang seemed very interested in you. Know him personally? No, I've never met him before. Right. He just happens to know your name, and looks at you like, well, we all saw. Mrs. Chen intervened. Marcia, enough. Isla, Principal Walsh wants you in his office. And here's what nobody expected, least of all Isla. Walsh's office reeked of stale coffee and fear. The principal looked like he'd aged a decade overnight. Ms. Monroe. He didn't meet her gaze. We're having a parent-teacher conference this Friday, with Mr. Kang regarding Ezra Park's academic standing. Isla's throat went dry. A conference? Yes. He requested you specifically, said you're Ezra's primary instructor and the only teacher whose opinion he values. Walsh's expression curdled with resentment. You'll meet with him alone, Friday at 4 p.m. 4 days. 4 days to prepare to face Vincent Kang again. But she wouldn't make it 4 days, because here's what happens when a dangerous man decides you're worth protecting. He doesn't wait for permission. Wednesday afternoon. Isla stayed late grading papers in her empty classroom. Winter sun setting early, casting long shadows. She was so absorbed she didn't hear the door open. Ms. Monroe. Isla's head snapped up. Vincent Kang stood in her doorway, filling the frame with his presence. Different suit today. Charcoal with subtle pinstripes. Same aura of controlled danger. His eyes swept her classroom. Worn books, faded posters, the single dead plant she'd never thrown away. Mr. Kang. Isla stood too quickly, knocking papers to the floor. Our meeting isn't until Friday. I know. He stepped inside, closing the door with deliberate care. I wanted to see where Ezra spends his days, where you spend yours. The room suddenly felt smaller, warmer. Isla's pulse hammered. Vincent moved with predatory grace, examining student artwork, running fingers along book spines. He stopped at her desk, studying the framed quote, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but action in the face of it." You believe this? He tapped the frame. I'm trying to. Honesty escaped before she could stop it. Those dark eyes lifted and the intensity stole her breath. Ezra talks about you, says you're the only teacher who doesn't lecture. You teach them to think, to be brave enough to challenge ideas. Ezra is exceptional. He makes teaching easy. No. Vincent moved closer, and Isla's instinct screamed to back away. She forced herself to stand still. You make Ezra feel safe enough to be exceptional. There's a difference. Close enough now that she could see the scar in detail, smell expensive cologne that didn't quite mask something more primal. Close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. I frighten people, Vincent said quietly. I know this. I've built my life around it, around being someone people fear rather than someone they can hurt. But Ezra says you don't seem afraid of anything in your classroom. That you teach with quiet strength that makes students believe they can be strong too. Isla's laugh was bitter. Then Ezra doesn't know me as well as he thinks. Doesn't he? Vincent's hand lifted. For one breathless moment she thought he might touch her face. Instead, he gestured to the quote. Fear and courage aren't opposites, Ms. Monroe. They're partners. You can't have one without the other. Why are you here? Barely a whisper. Vincent's expression shifted, something vulnerable flickering beneath armor. Because I've been watching you for 3 weeks. Isla's blood turned to ice. Watching me? And what he said next changed everything. Not like that. His jaw tightened. When I'm in town visiting Ezra, I see you, walking to school, sitting alone in the coffee shop grading papers, standing in your classroom after everyone's gone, looking at those desks like you're trying to remember why you started teaching. He paused. I see someone who's been hurt, someone who's hiding, someone who's forgotten she's allowed to take up space in the world. Tears pricked Isla's eyes. How could he possibly know? I also see, Vincent continued, voice dropping to something almost tender. Someone beautiful, someone strong enough to survive whatever tried to break her. Someone worth protecting. You don't know anything about me, but her protest was weak. Then tell me. It wasn't a request. And suddenly, inexplicably, Isla wanted to. The words tumbled out. Pittsburgh, the false accusation, the investigation that cleared her but the court of public opinion that convicted her anyway, the threats, the vandalism, the fear that drove her to this dying town. Vincent listened without interruption, his expression darkening with each revelation. When she finished, silence stretched. Then, give me names. What? The people who threatened you, who vandalized your property, who spread lies after you were cleared. Give me their names. Mr. Kang. Vincent. His voice was steel. Say my name, Isla. The intimacy of her first name on his lips sent electricity down her spine. Vincent, I can't. I don't want revenge. I just want to move forward. This isn't revenge. He stepped closer, barely a breath of space between them now. This is justice. This is ensuring they never hurt you or anyone else again. This is me, using the resources and reputation that frighten people for something that actually matters. Why? Isla searched those dark eyes. Why would you do this for me? You don't even know me. Vincent's hand finally made contact, just his fingers, brushing her jaw with devastating gentleness. I know enough. I know you've been drowning in ice for over a year. I know you've forgotten what warmth feels like. His thumb traced her cheekbone. And I know that from the moment I saw you in that auditorium, something in me recognized something in you. Like calling to like, winter calling to winter. Isla should pull away. Should maintain professional boundaries. Should remember this man was dangerous, powerful, completely inappropriate. Instead, she leaned into his touch. I scare people, Vincent repeated, voice rough. But you, Isla Monroe, you don't look at me with fear. You look at me like you're trying to decide if I'm real. Are you? More real than I've been in years. His other hand came up, framing her face. I built walls around myself after my sister died. Turned myself into something hard and cold because love meant loss and loss meant pain I couldn't control. But Ezra taught me that protecting something precious is worth the risk. And you... He stopped, jaw working. Me? Isla prompted, barely breathing. And what he said next? It's the reason I'm telling you this story. You make me want to tear down every wall I've built. You make me want to be soft again, warm again, human again. His forehead dropped to rest against hers. And that terrifies me more than any business deal or threat I've ever faced. Isla's hands found their way to his chest, feeling his heart hammering beneath expensive fabric. I'm broken, Vincent. I'm barely holding myself together. I have nightmares every night. I can't even smile at my students anymore. I'm not someone you should want. You're exactly who I want. His certainty was absolute. Because you're still here, still teaching, still showing up every day even though you're terrified. That's not broken, Isla. That's the strongest thing I've ever seen. The kiss happened inevitably, like gravity finally claiming two bodies in orbit. His lips were gentle at first, questioning, careful, giving her every opportunity to pull away. but when Isla's hands fisted in his shirt and pulled him closer, something in Vincent unleashed. The kiss deepened, became consuming, a clash of heat and hunger and 14 months of numbness finally cracking. Isla gasped against his mouth, and Vincent swallowed the sound, his hands sliding into her hair and destroying the severe bun. Dark curls tumbled free, and he groaned like he'd been waiting for this, to have her exactly like this, undone and wanting and alive. Beautiful, he murmured against her lips. So damn beautiful, like watching winter melt. They broke apart only when breathing became necessary. Isla's classroom spun. Vincent's pupils were blown dark, his control visibly fraying. "Friday," he said roughly. "Our official meeting. Come to my office instead of the school. I'll send a car." "Vincent, I can't. People will talk." "Let them." He kissed her again, briefer but no less intense. "I'm done pretending I don't want this. Want you. And you, Isla Monroe, are done hiding." But here's what neither of them knew. Friday would change everything, because when a man like Vincent Kang decides you're his to protect, there's no going back. Friday arrived wrapped in fresh anxiety and unfamiliar hope. Isla did something she hadn't done in over a year. Cared about her appearance. Deep burgundy sweater. Not gray, not black. Hair down in natural curls. Mrs. Chen noticed immediately. "You look lovely. It's good to see color on you again." At 3:45 p.m., a sleek black car pulled up outside Riverside Academy. The driver held a sign. "Ms. Monroe." Marcia's expression as Isla walked past was absolutely poisonous. Good. 20 minutes later, a gleaming high-rise in the commercial district. Kang Industries occupied the top 15 floors. Vincent's executive assistant, sharp-eyed Sarah, escorted Isla to the penthouse level. "He's cleared his schedule for the rest of the day," Sarah said with a knowing smile. "Take as long as you need." The elevator opened directly into Vincent's office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic city views. Minimalist decor, surprisingly warm. Wood accents, subtle lighting, living plants actually thriving. Vincent stood with his back to the elevator, hands in pockets, gazing out at the city. He'd removed his suit jacket. White shirt rolled to the elbows, revealing those tattoos in full. Intricate designs that looked like flames and phoenixes rising from ashes. "You came." He turned, and the vulnerability in his expression nearly undid her. "You thought I wouldn't?" "I thought you might remember how dangerous I am." He crossed to her slowly. "How inappropriate this is. How much sense it would make to run." "I've been running for over a year." Isla met him halfway. "I'm tired, Vincent. Tired of being afraid. Tired of being cold. Tired of surviving instead of living." His hands framed her face like she was something precious. "Then let me warm you up." This kiss was different from Wednesday's. Less desperate, more intentional. Vincent kissed her like he had all the time in the world, like nothing existed except this moment, this woman, this breaking open of both their carefully constructed defenses. He walked her backward until her hips hit his desk, papers scattered. Neither cared. "Tell me to stop," Vincent murmured against her throat, "and I will, immediately. No questions." "Don't stop." Isla's fingers worked his shirt buttons. "Please don't stop." What followed was inevitable, overwhelming, absolutely necessary. And here's why this moment matters. Vincent worshipped her with touches and kisses and whispered promises. He traced every curve, memorized every gasp, made her feel cherished and wanted and seen in ways she'd forgotten were possible. And when Isla finally shattered in his arms, crying out his name, it felt like resurrection. Afterward, they lay tangled together on the leather sofa in his office, Isla wrapped in Vincent's shirt, his hand tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. I had an entire presentation prepared, Vincent said, amusement in his voice. Charts about Ezra's curriculum, professional talking points. Isla laughed, actually laughed, for the first time in months. Sorry to derail your presentation. Don't be. He tilted her face up, kissing her softly. This was better. This was real. What happens now? Fear crept back. Vincent, your reputation, my job. If people find out, let them find out. His certainty was absolute. I'm not hiding this. Not you. You want to keep teaching? I'll ensure you're protected. Want to leave Riverside Academy? I'll fund your own school. Want to move to another state? I'll come with you. He cupped her face. The only thing I won't do is let you disappear again. Tears spilled down Isla's cheeks. But for the first time in over a year, they weren't tears of grief. I don't have much to offer you, she whispered. I'm still healing, still scared, still figuring out who I am after everything that happened. You have everything I need. Vincent's thumb caught her tears. You have courage, strength, a heart that hasn't let cruelty make it cruel. And you have me, Isla, completely, irrevocably, whether you want me or not. I want you. The words felt like flying. God help me, I want you. His smile was devastating. Then we'll figure out the rest together. But figuring it out together? That's where the real story begins. Because 6 months later, the summer sun finally broke Ashford Grove's endless winter. Gardens bloomed, children played. The world remembered how to be warm. Isla stood in her new classroom, larger, brighter, part of the charter school Vincent had funded when Riverside Academy's board refused to change their discriminatory policies. 20 students looked up with eager faces. Ezra sat in the front row, grinning. The door opened. Vincent leaned against the frame, devastating in a simple black t-shirt and jeans. He'd been at the school all morning, personally overseeing construction of the new science lab. Ms. Monroe, he said formally, though his eyes promised thoroughly unprofessional things later. Just checking if you need anything. The students giggled. They all knew Mr. Kang was Ms. Monroe's special friend. Ezra had made sure of that. I'm good, Mr. Kang, Isla replied, fighting a smile, but thank you. As he left, his hand trailed across her shoulders, a brief claiming touch that sent electricity down her spine. That evening, in the home they now shared, Vincent found Isla on the balcony, watching the sunset. No nightmares, lately? He asked, arms circling her waist from behind. Not in 3 months. Isla leaned into his warmth. I dream about other things now. Better things. Like what? She turned in his arms, rising on her toes to kiss him. Like fire melting ice. Like phoenixes rising. Like a man who saw me when I couldn't see myself. Vincent's kiss tasted like promises kept and futures built. I love you, Isla Monroe, my winter queen who learned to burn. I love you too. She smiled against his lips, a real smile, full and unguarded. My dangerous man who taught me courage isn't the absence of fear. It's loving despite it. Behind them, the sun set in shades of crimson and gold. But for the first time in over a year, Isla wasn't afraid of the darkness. Because she'd learned that even the longest winter eventually ends, and spring, when it finally comes, is worth the wait. If this story melted your heart the way Vincent melted Isla's ice, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep romances where powerful men fall completely for the women who challenge them. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. Was it the auditorium confrontation? The classroom confession? That office scene that changed everything? I read every single comment. Until next time, keep believing in love that burns bright enough to end even the coldest winter.